And looks like we are live. Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. Come on in. When you are live, give me a hashtag live. When you are watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. So let me tell you something. I have somebody special with me tonight, live in living color. If you saw the email, you saw that I said I got a legend. Krista, you are a legend in these streets. I'm going to tell you. Um, Guys, this is my really, really good friend and client, Krista McGowan. And I had to come on here because we were having a conversation the other day. Karen said hashtag live. Hey, Karen. And the Dual Revenue Authority, what it is called today, was actually birthed with Krista, right? Krista was my first ever dual revenue. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, you were my first ever dual revenue authority part like that, like because it wasn't a name for it back then. When we were working. So guys, I want to introduce you to this powerhouse, right? And I want to say that, you know, Krista and I tell the story a lot on our webinar. Hey, Stacy, on the weekly webinar. We met a long time ago. Oh my God, I can't believe it. We met so long ago. And the story goes, Krista and I met on the Avis shuttle at the Hartford, Connecticut airport, and we were both going to interview for the same company. I'm gonna echo for the same company for the same role. It was this basically this executive leadership program that hindsight 2020, the whole purpose was to make us super consultants and to make us super adaptable and to be able to handle pretty much anything that our careers could throw our way, honestly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that program later. But Chris and I met on the shuttle, going to interview at the same place. We were at the same hotel, going to get the same rental car because they sent everybody to the same crazy uh, Avis rental car. And I think they made everybody stay. Didn't we have to stay at an extended stay?
It
Didn't we?
was the infamous extended stay. Yep.
And it's so funny that we're going to be very transparent. Hey, Dorcas, Chris and I were the only two black girls there. And we were also the only non-engineers that were going to this job interview um, at this engineering company. Right. So that is where we met, and we were in this program together, and we became fast friends. And I think we'll talk a lot more about it, but a little bit later on. But Krista, I want to give you an opportunity to talk to them a little bit about your background because people are always wanting to know, like, have you been an entrepreneur for a long time? Did you always know? Did you start out all of this? I want Krista to tell you like her background, and so you'll know that like you don't have to start out saying I'm gonna conquer the world in entrepreneurship. So I'm turning it over to you.
Lord, no. How's my audio? Do I sound okay?
It's an echo, a little bit of background noise, but it's not bad.
Okay. So first, Kendra, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to speak on this topic this evening. Like you said, we go way back, but it's always an honor and a privilege to work with you and just to hear you because you are truly a wealth of knowledge. So for those of you that are on and that are in Kendra's network, you guys truly are in for a treat. She is amazing. So to introduce myself, again, my name is Krista. I don't even know where to start. Let's see. Education wise, because people always get confused when they, anyway. So education wise, I went to Clark Atlanta University. I have my Bachelor of Arts in Fashion Merchandising, and then I have my MBA in Supply Chain. So that's how we ended up in the Operations Leadership Program because of my supply chain degree. So that's important. But when people hear about my fashion background, they're always like, how did you end up here working in aerospace? And is this your dream? I'd be like, absolutely not. But that was the opportunities that were presented at the time. So anyway, I continued to work in corporate America, but I had my fashion background, which was truly, truly my passion. And I started off with doing personal styling. So I had a mentor of mine who was the first Black D1 athletic director in California. She was at UC Riverside, a mentor of mine that I met at Clark Atlanta, and she just started having me dress her. So I didn't even know that that was a thing that I could get paid, but because she knew my background, I had a conversation with her at a basketball game and started styling her, started traveling with her. As I continued to work in the program, so every 8 months, at the end of the 8 months, everyone had to give a presentation. And I realized that some of these individuals truly struggled with this element. They were so smart, very book smart, like Kendra said, engineers, went to some of the top schools. But when it came time to presenting in front of executives, showing personality, being a true person, they shut down and they couldn't do it. So that's when I started looking at more of the professional development aspect, because although I was not an engineer and didn't have that background, I knew how to work a room. Okay. I knew how to network. I knew how to show up. I knew what to wear. And that truly changed the game. Now, for me, that came pretty natural, but for others, it was like a very foreign concept. And I knew that that was a talent that God had blessed me with. So that's when I ended up pairing the professional development with the professional or the personal styling. And that's how I came up with image consulting, which is my business. So I have an image consulting firm. It's called Critique Consulting. And I do professional development and personal branding for entrepreneurs, for colleges and companies, and just help them focus on the ABCDs of personal branding. So that's your appearance, behavior, communication, and digital footprint. And that's a little bit about my background.
I love it. Thank you for that background, Krista. And I think that is important for people to know. Like, and the funny thing, the thing I want to pause in is Krista saw an opportunity early on in this program, and I'm going to talk more about this because you guys have heard me say it, but now you get to hear somebody that was also in the trenches with me. We had to relocate every 8 months. We never knew where we were going to end up, and Lord, we ended up in some god awful places. We ended up in some amazing places. Okay, we also I don't know if Krista wants to claim this, but I'm gonna go ahead and claim it. We got to go on several boondoggles. And we got to go on several boondoggles. I think at one point Krista was in Istanbul and I was in China, and then she was in India and I was in Istanbul and she was in somewhere else, and I was in China again. What in the world? We wouldn't be doing no work.
I got to celebrate my birthday in Turkey. That was one of my most amazing birthdays. On the company dime.
On the company dime.
Right.
On the company dime. I also want to pause and say we are two girlies that were corporate decision makers at a young age, because on all those boondoggles, we had corporate cars. We were in our 20s.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Right. And we could swipe those corporate cards for pretty much anything as long as we can justify it. All right. And so I say all this to say for our audience to redefine what a corporate decision maker actually looks like. But also to know that like we were really accessible and we got to experience a lot in different industries. And the gist of this program, I think we talked about a little the other day, that we were basically dropped off in the middle of nowhere, pretty much with no preparation. And so you got 8 months to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Fix it. Oh, and by the way, after the 8 months, you got to present out to executives. Right. And how many people would that scare you to death? And once again, we were young. We weren't seasoned experts or executives, but this was like what, I always attribute this, regardless of how I feel about that company or not, that made me the consultant I am today. right? Because we didn't have an opportunity to second guess. We didn't have an opportunity. And several people dropped out of that process because they couldn't handle it. Um, and to come to the point about the presentation, because this is one thing I always admired about Krista, and you're gonna probably laugh at this when you remember, because you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. There were several people that had no presentation skills that were brilliant, that did not know how to carry themselves with confidence, or didn't know how to communicate, or like just didn't know how to just look professional at all. And so as a part of our training, I can say this company spent so much money on our professional development. We had to go through a presentation training with a company that had a corporate contract, by the way, that was terrible. This company was basically this boring old man teaching us how to present. And I'll never forget, he was like, and at the end of the presentation, you got to have a watch. You got to have a watch. And you tell them you got time for 2 questions. And y'all, this man was getting paid handsomely to come and tell us that.
He had an annual contract.
He had an annual contract to come and do that. Like, and so I think about, like, you know, in the space of corporate contracts, like there are certain things, and I think, you know, Krista and I were really successful in this program as the only non-engineers because of those skills that a lot of the engineers did not have. Like, first of all, we did know how to dress. we had style. We stood out for people, right? For obvious reasons, right? But also we had personality, right? And we could communicate and we could articulate. And the thing that I always remember is that Krista was so true to who she was, and I was so true to who I was. And Krista may remember this, but I don't know if you sent me a message one time or posted. Krista and I had only known each other at this point for a few months when we had to give our first presentations out to executives. And I pulled up to that presentation in a Jeep Grand Cherokee, or a Jeep Wrangler, that we had to rent from Avis, bumping T.I. Motivation loud as all I do. Don't care who.
True to Atlanta, okay.
And Krista was like, I knew I was gonna love you from that moment.
I knew it. You were so authentic.
And it was just it. So I think, like, that's our background, guys. We come from, like, being in these high pressure situations, having to perform, but also having to stand out and to be able to communicate and present. So, Krista, I want you to talk about, like, how we transitioned into, you know, from meeting there and being friends. And Krista was actually a bridesmaid at my wedding. And just, you know, now we're lifelong friends forever. But how it transitioned into you becoming a client.
Ooh, so I had always seen your work. Actually, in my memories, it's so funny because your presentation or the workshop that you did, it was at that hotel, Boss Architect at the time. Because I had a pin and I took a video of the gift box that you gave everybody. But I remember going to that event, and of course, I always saw your content, but I was not ready myself to move forward. So finally, I think I had reached out to you and just was like, I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I still at that point didn't really know what to do because I was getting clients here and there, but I knew in order to really take things seriously and to really take things to the next level, I needed help and I couldn't do it on my own. So I reached out and wanted to just learn more about what you do. Because at that time, I want to say it was about the business credit. And maybe we were evolving into doing more. But that's kind of how it started from what I remember. What do you remember more?
I remember more. So I'm going to tell you, I had forgotten actually about the TV appearance thing because I was on a TV show and Krista came to the live taping where I did my presentation live on this TV show. But before that, I don't know if Krista even knows this. If you go back way further in your phone, I mean, way further, you were the first person that I actually called about the Boss Architect. I had a conversation with you. You were working in California. You were still in California at the time. I think at the aerospace company. And I remember I had an idea, and my clients will know if you heard the story about when my first little business idea flopped. I was like, Krista, I think I want to create this 12-week program where I teach people how to like start their business and market their business and do their taxes and do their marketing and do all this stuff. And I'm gonna call it Start to Pay. And she was like, that sounds good. That sounds good. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Now I didn't know anything about marketing my business online. I didn't know that was a whole bunch of word vomit. But the next week, I tried that, and the next week I launched Credit Architect, and that became my first $1 million program. So Krista was the first person that I told. And so, yeah, I remember fast forwarding when you were ready to work and you reached out. And at that time, I had a program called Unsexy Launch. So y'all need to listen to this. You Unsexy Launch. And Unsexy Launch was all about building the foundation. Somebody put foundation in the comments. It was about building the foundational systems for your business. Kind of like for the people that asked me about this, and that's what Create to Cash is now, right? So it's creating the foundational systems for your business. It is doing the things that, not all of the fancy stuff, not all of the hoopla. And we went straight down the middle, and we said, in this program, one of the things that we did was map out Krista's like consumer offer, right? Her premium consumer offer. And it just so happened that a lot of her clients were executive women because that's who our network was. That's who was seeing her kind of naturally. And also we knew that audience, right? We knew what they needed. And then there was an opportunity to create a corporate side. And this was so funny because initially, y'all know that like I was doing corporate contracts myself, but I didn't start teaching corporate contracts until last year. So this was a couple of years before that. And I'm like, okay, Krista, we can do this up under one brand. I really said we can do this up under one brand. This is important. And we can just have two different paths that people can go down. So one path for your corporate clients and one path for your consumer clients. And we built the website was built out. We did your presentation.
Can I interject? Because I need to give you more credit for this. So first of all, Kendra didn't say this, but I am the overthinker. Okay. I'm a strong turtle. I read all the fine print. It takes me a while to spend large amounts of money. I'm risk averse. Okay. So I'm not like Kendra where she has an idea and executes the next day. Okay. That is not me. Okay. So I appreciate your patience, friend, with working with me. But Kendra is right. I knew that I wanted to do branding. I knew I wanted to do it. I kept going back and forth, right? I kept struggling like, well, I know I want to work one-on-one with people, but I also love doing workshops. I love giving presentations, and I didn't want to lose sight of that. So I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to focus on one-on-one. But I was like, oh, but I don't want to forget about this audience, and I don't want to, miss out on opportunities because I was getting emails from colleges and being able to do corporate workshops, and I didn't want to miss out on that. So I just appreciate your vision, Kendra, because you allowed me to see that it's possible without overcomplicating it. Like you said, it's under one brand. You don't need a business name for the one-on-ones. You don't need a business name for the corporate. No, it's one brand, and you can market it. You can have your pathways, and we can make it very clear on your website. But I was just so like, it was mind boggling because I'm like, wait a minute, I guess I can do it as one business and have it all flow under one, like website, et cetera, et cetera. So I just appreciate you breaking it down and making it real for me because it was very hard for me to see that vision at first.
I appreciate that. And I remember, and my audience, Krista, resonates with you because I get all the smart overthinkers. I love you. Overthink everything. I will say though, to give you some love back, once you were clear, you executed,
Mm.
right? And I think that's a beautiful thing because sometimes people will still get the clarity and still not execute. And that's real. And so you execute it. And so that's why you got the results, right? Let's talk a little bit about like there's a time that I remember, and we'll talk about like you were doing your consumer offers, but there was a premium offer that was created. And I remember the day we were kind of workshopping that offer and creating it. And we kind of created it based on our own experience of like relocating and what that looks like when you relocate and you're in a new city and you're in a new role and got a promotion. And that was the offer where you would actually go out to your client like and do the closet. And
Mm. Oh,
so
yep.
yeah. And like
Mhm.
I know that transition to be like, wait, somebody will pay me this much for this, but you close. How was that transition for you?
Listen, that I remember when I pitched that offer, my palms were sweaty. Well, I should say when I sent that email, because I remember you had helped me create, like you said, my company presentation. You had helped me create the offer. And when you helped me with the pricing, that's the part where I had the knot in my throat, where I was like, oh, I wasn't ready.
Baby, look, we don't play about pricing around here. You better charge what you worth.
Right. And that honestly, that was a huge boost of confidence because I remember just sending that email and be like, all right, it's sent. The worst she could say is no. And she was like, all right, I'm in. Where do I sign? But that was my first time traveling to go rebuild someone's closet, basically do the entire method that I had talked about in my lives. I was able to do it right there in the flesh and get paid for it. So that was just a huge confidence boost. And I had the materials and all of the assets to back it up. So I feel like that was a huge boost of just credibility because I had everything that I needed to show her the process, which was key. I had it documented on my website, I had it documented in my assets. And then, of course, I was able to speak to it as well. But when you're charging a larger or a higher price point, sometimes people, want to go back like the turtles, like myself, and I want to read all the fine print. So just having those assets was a huge game changer because they were able to look at the material and understand, okay, this is what I'm paying for, understood, and I was able to close.
Boom, boom. And like then once you do it, it's like, oh, this is
Mhm.
it. Right? Like a lot of you guys, like, you just got to get your first one. Um, talk about because didn't you get a corporate one before that? Or was the corporate one after?
Um, I don't know if it was before or after. I don't know if it
I
was before.
remember working on a presentation for one of them, the first one. It was the
Mhm.
first one with, I think it was with Clark.
Okay, yeah, that was before because when I did her closet, I had already quit my job. So so yeah.
Boom, boom. Okay, so let's talk about the bigger opportunities, like because we went through a process of like getting you corporate ready too. Like you were ready on the consumer side, you were ready on the corporate, and just to like pause with everyone, the we worked on the offers, of course, right? We worked on the pricing, but when Krista talks about assets, these are the things that we build. Like so we had her website, which is a corporate command site that's very clear, like on what she does for both. We had assets, so she had a funnel on the consumer side as well as the presentation like funnel on the corporate side. Like, so we had the funnels running dual revenue, right? And then the other thing, which we'll talk about a little later, was we created Krista's Live series, right? Which is the credibility engine that we build that people are still watching old videos to this day and reaching out to her, right? Um, but I remember like that first time, like having that, it was literally not a conversation about whether Krista was ready or not. We were just working on the pricing for that first one. And Krista, I don't know if you remember this. Um, when we were at Plantation, so I did something with a small group that I had where we went to the cabin for a few days, and it's called Plancation. I do it in my business. And we were at Plancation, and there was someone reaching out to Krista for an opportunity. And like, could you please send me a proposal? Could you please send me a proposal? And I think you end up getting it or so. I don't know. But talk about your process of like on the corporate side, the corporate ones, the government ones that you've gotten. Like, how has that process been?
Oh, yeah. So I will say for those of you that are looking for corporate, make sure that your LinkedIn is up to par. So that was a huge piece for me, was making sure my LinkedIn was good and my Facebook. Because like Kendra mentioned about the videos, I did have someone reach out to me recently within the last 2 or 3 months or so, that is now an elected official. And she had been watching my Facebook content, never liked a thing, never commented. She was never on when it was live, or at least I never saw her name. But she had told me that when she got elected, she knew she wanted to work with me. And so we've had 2 now discovery meetings. And now I pitched to them, to her office, to be able to do some personal branding workshops. So now they have my company presentation, because I'm still using the assets that we built years ago. Okay, now at this point, I'm just updating the clients that I work with, but it's the same presentation. And it's very clear for them to understand what I do. I might be increasing my rates, every now and then.
Period.
You know, I'm more seasoned now, but yeah, from being able to have, like Kendra mentioned, the credibility piece. So I do have all my videos on my YouTube channel, and then of course Facebook and even LinkedIn. So they're able to, when they Google me or when they look me up, you're not just going to get a blank or 1 or 2 photos. No, you're going to see, okay, Krista has these articles written about her. She has these videos. And you'll see that I'm a legit person and that I have some assets, again, behind my name. But it makes it easy for them. I had a client reach out to me. She actually had a hotel, and she was looking to get some professional development for her employees. And I always ask, how did you find me? And she found me from Google, literally Google. And I'm like, at me, little old me, how did I even pop up for the search engine? But when you have all of these videos and things behind you, it makes you go up. And Kendra knows all the terms, so I'm sorry, I don't have all the terms, the SEO or whatever it's called, but I just know what she talks about works. And I had several people find me just simply off of putting image consultant in Atlanta or personal stylist in Atlanta.
Boom. Krista, I'm saying it because Krista doesn't even know like what I be telling y'all, right? Right. But Krista, I have a huge thing where I tell them like LinkedIn is like your personal like brand page, right? People are able to see that, and corporate decision makers actually find you through Google, right? And Facebook, and the way that you become Googleable is because of the credibility engine we build. Krista and I have never worked on search engine optimization. Never. But if you search her on Google, you'll find her. Because the search engine optimization is built into the process.
Mm.
Right. And I want to talk about that process of, because my audience needs to hear this, my audience of overthinkers. That process of initially building the momentum, or building, I think, the routine of going live. Because y'all know we create whole live series, and Krista was like, oh no, like, so how was that process for you about like building that muscle?
That was tough, honestly. That was, just thinking about it, Lord Jesus. So my series was called Keeping It Classy with Krista. And I honestly want to bring it back because, yeah, anyway. But yeah, so there's a mental block that you have to get through with being live. And I just appreciate the accountability that was built within our group. So Kendra was working with us every week or multiple times a week, actually, on just our assets and making sure we were, keeping up with the program. But when it came time to launch our series, I feel like we were a little delayed there. But honestly, you just have to get over it. Like, there's no secret sauce, there's no secret formula. You just have to do it. And I honestly feel like Kendra's love language is execution and effort, because when you show that you are trying, and she'll show up on your live, she'll comment, hype you up. Even if you want her to be backstage to give you some prompts of what to say, if you're really nervous, she'll support you. But at the end of the day, you just have to execute. And you'd be surprised how many people actually do pay attention to your content, even if they might not be on, because I've presented a whole workshop to 0 people. Okay, 0. But you better believe I was on there. Hey, everyone, make sure you put hashtag live, hashtag replay, all the things. And because people were watching the replay. And that's one thing, Kendra, you really harped on, is like, look at your numbers. Today, it might be 0, but check back in 24 hours, check back in a week. And those numbers would steadily climb and climb and climb, because people are busy. Maybe they're not available at that different time. And you also have to play with the times, right? I remember you told us try maybe a Monday. For me, mine was Monday night at 7:00, because I was targeting corporate women. So I didn't want to do it during the weekend because I felt like maybe they just wanted to unplug. But you have to try out different days and be able to work with yourself, and don't just give up after 1 live or even 2 or 3, because it truly is a process, and you just have to find your groove. You have to find your audience, and it really does make a difference.
It really does. And I thank you for sharing that perspective, because people think that I like woke up one morning and just knew how to go live, right? And it's like, child, no, I like, y'all need to see some of the old baby Kendra live videos, because it is, you build the muscle for it. And Krista knows this, but I give you a little tough love. And like a lot of times I had to tell them, like, get over it. Like, get over it and go live. Right? It is what it is, because your voice is too powerful not to be heard. Right? And that was real. And I remember us all doing like we all did lives that in 1 week. So we did a cash infusion. Right. Yep, Toriel, nobody has to sign up for it. You just go. Right. Toriel said I needed that because I haven't asked me anything coming up Friday and no one signed up yet. No one has to sign up. You just have to sign up. Show up.
Yep.
Because some things are about building the muscle, and some things are about activating you when momentum does not exist, when inertia is operating against you. Remember what I've talked about. You have to learn how to bend inertia to your will. The only way to bend inertia to your will, to break that force that keeps objects that are in motion in motion, or objects that are at rest, is to exert an external force. And sometimes that external force needs to be you. Right? So that was a beautiful thing to experience and to see. Like, Krista, you like stepping into it, because your lives were so freaking good.
Thank you.
So good. And as Krista mentioned, she has assets now that live in perpetuity. People are still finding her and reaching out. And you guys haven't heard Krista say one time, I was sliding up in people's DMs. I was like, hey, Krista's not gonna do that, miss. I'll go ahead and tell you. She's not gonna do that, man.
Yeah.
Right. So, Krista, we're talking to an audience, and maybe you can tell a little bit more about your perspective. Even back then, we created an attraction system. Right. I have never, and never will I ever teach for you to chase anybody down. And like that was not of God. That's what I was not going to teach. But like Krista just talk about that process of like, after you implement all this, you literally seeing people reaching out. How did that feel?
Yeah, it felt really good. So, number one, I was surprised because, like I said, I was presenting to an audience of zero. So, I didn't even know people were watching my content. But I would get either emails or even people that were within my network were like, oh, I didn't know that's what you do. Or, oh, I saw your video and yeah, is that what you do? Okay, tell me more. But it created conversations and it gave me an opportunity to talk more about what I do and to inform people because they simply saw my videos. Whether it was, like I said, a live or even just carousels that I may have posted on LinkedIn, but just being visible and not being afraid or embarrassed if nobody really interacted with my content. We're in such a like doing everything for likes, right? We want so much visibility and we want to go viral and we want all these things. But I know a lot of influencers who are broke. Okay. They have all the likes, they have all the shares, but they don't have no money. And once I understood that, and once I saw my contracts coming in and I saw what my follow count looked like, my priorities changed.
Oh my
So
God.
if you're concerned about people signing up for your lives, or if you're concerned about not having the engagement or the interaction, just trust in what you are bringing to the table. Trust in the process, because that was very difficult for me. And and I don't know if anybody is like this that's on the live tonight, but I know for me, my image consulting came natural. So I never felt like, oh, someone's going to pay all this money because it was second nature to me to put together an outfit, to do a presentation. Oh, yeah, you got to do this, this, this. Oh, that's too many bullets on this slider. You figure out your tone and things like that. It came natural. I'm like, this is common sense, but it's not. So whatever that business idea is, and Kendra will make sure that it makes sense and that it, is going to come across right and credible. But once you have that offer, you truly have to be confident in it and execute. Give yourself that opportunity to execute. I'm sure there's a lot of work that you all do in this program and with what Kendra is presenting to you all, but you have to trust the process. And I am I'm such an introvert. I am like going live for me. Before Kendra's program, you won't see a live video on my Instagram, on my Facebook. You will not, okay? Because I wouldn't do it. And after that, I had a YouTube channel. I had a whole platform, okay? And I'm still building it. I'm still building it now with some government contracts that I have in the work. I do life skills now with the youth in Cobb County juvenile system that came from someone following me on Facebook and saying that I had great presentation skills. Now, this is the second year that I'm working with the Cobb County government to do life skills training. It's like, honestly, don't limit yourself. And I feel like I'm rambling, but I just want you all to understand once you put yourself out there and you put out there what you can do, the opportunities truly do come to you. You truly attract it, but you have to show up confident. You have to be consistent. Everybody knew Monday at 7 o'clock, it was keeping it classy with Krista. And
Period.
I had to show up. Kendra talks about that, making sure you're consistent and making sure your audience knows when to expect you. Because if I show up Tuesday and then Thursday, then Saturday, they'll be like, okay, she doesn't have her stuff together. But pick a time that works for you where you can show up consistently and your audience will show up. You just got to give yourself the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for preaching the Krista. First of all, I want y'all to know that because I be talking about the broke influencers, but somebody other than me said, like, Kendra, you so messy. I'm telling the truth. The second thing to pick up from that is Krista said something very important, and I want to kind of layer onto that about the people who were reaching out to her were not the likers, followers, and commenters. And this is for my people that you are chasing engagement. Remember, we don't chase engagement. We engineer the system to bring people to you. Engagement is not the thing because your highest value clients are not loud online. They're actually very quiet. They're quiet and they're decisive and they're ready to move when they're ready to move. Right. the people who like and share and comment the most be broke as all outdoors. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you. They ain't trying to pay. They will be in your amen corner. They'll be like, "Oh, sis, I'm so proud of you," and that's about the extent, right?
Facts.
So, in this business world, you're looking for one or two things. You're either looking for an amen corner, and God bless and keep you, if that's what you're looking for, or you're looking for buyers. And the metrics on how you're gauging your success look very different, whether you're looking for an amen corner or whether you're looking for buyers. Over here, we engineer for buyers. I also want to talk about the system side. We're going to talk about the systems, because Krista had a system. And Krista, this will be interesting for people to hear, because a lot of my clients they're not super comfortable with building the behind the scenes systems. So we had an entire system, which when the people, if you work with me in Create to Cash, or if you work with me in Boardroom Experience, Boardroom Ready, I show you how to actually build the systems for that, right? And for people that want to know the equivalent of where Krista started out on her journey, right? So she started out in a program that is the equivalent of Create to Cash. And I brought that back for a limited time. So come in Create to Cash if you want more information on that. But where she ended up, because she does multiple programs with me, where she ended up was the equivalent of F500 Boardroom Experience. So this journey, we built out a lot of systems. And so Krista, let me know how it was initially when I was showing y'all how to build all these automations and build all these systems and introducing you to new tech.
Jesus. So first, let me just say I am not a techie at all whatsoever. So Kendra could build a whole universe, and this is her ministry, okay? That is not me. So if you do get frustrated, or if you struggle maybe with building automation or technology, just don't give up on yourself, okay? Just don't give up, because you will get there, trust me. But I would say the process as far as building the automation, it was painful. I'm not gonna lie. Building out assets, building out the automation, it wasn't like, oh, let's do that. No, it was you had to be very detailed. You had to know every step of your process, and you had to make sure that you knew the order and what you wanted to come next, and have the asset to go. If they click here, what's gonna pop up? Can they sign up here? So you have to make sure that you have assets behind every click and every prompt and every funnel that you are working with. So building that out, I don't even remember how long it took, Kendra, but I do know we had spent hours just with working sessions. We had our music playing and we would be building. I forget what we called them, but we were essentially.
We did sprints. They were building
Yes.
sprints.
Exactly. And it was like, okay, this is what we're focused on tonight. And we would have the music playing, and we were going. But once it was complete, it made the process so much easier. So I remember specifically doing it for, I forget the name of the lot or the workshop that I worked on. I remember it was on a Saturday, and I forget the name of it, but
The webinar, your webinar?
my webinar, exactly. Because I remember we built automations which came with freebies. So I remember I had a styling book, an ebook. I remember I had a few different assets to go with it. But it was like once it rolled out, it was so smooth. I didn't have to touch anything. I could focus on my webinar that I was working my way up to that particular weekend. But just you have to be diligent in it. You have to be detail oriented and just making sure, again, you understand your process. But once it is complete, then you're able to recreate it and repurpose it for future opportunities. So once you lay that groundwork, then it's just a small tweak here and there. You might need to change a date here, change an asset here, but it's honestly performs as a well-oiled machine. You just have to lay the groundwork.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm so glad people got to hear it from you, a self-proclaimed super not techie. Execute, right? And this is something that I always say, Krista. I always tell people building the structure is never fun until you actually get to use it. Building it is never fun. And this goes back to something that is so important for me. Um, so important for me, so important for, you know, my audience to understand is that you don't get to see structure and it doesn't give you the dopamine hit initially that busy work does. Right. And so a lot of times people will sign up for a program that tells them go like and follow 10 people every day. Right. That gives a dopamine hit. But if I say, come and let's get clarity on your offer, no dopamine there. Right. Or people will say, like, oh, come join a program and let me teach you how to message 30 people a day. That's dopamine because you're busy. But if I say, actually, let's map out what the packaging for your offer is, what the core is, who your target audience is, and how we're going to sell this to them. No dopamine there. When I say, okay, let's actually build out some infrastructure, it's no dopamine there. And so this entire process is about delaying the dopamine addiction that a lot of people have because of the internet, right? Delaying your dopamine addiction, the gratitude, the gratification you get from that dopamine hit, and saying, I'm willing to delay my dopamine to build. And that's real. And that dopamine delay is what allows you to build the infrastructure. Right.
Yeah.
So Krista has been so gracious with her time. I'm going to wrap this up. But Krista, I just want to let you leave with, like, you know, anything that you would have to encourage, people who are going down this journey, who are thinking about this journey, and about the experience with me too, and how just overall this process and this journey has been for you.
Yeah, let me just say thank you again for having me on tonight. Any opportunity that I get to talk about working with Kendra, I'm going to be very honest and open, but I'm always going to give her flowers because Kendra, you've helped me so much. Like you pour so much into people, you're worth way more than any price tag, like seriously. This is truly your passion and you truly want to see people win, and I just appreciate you as an individual because you've just done more than enough. So I am always willing to speak about our experience of working together. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me even after this. I'm happy to chat. But I did want to just say, Kendra, I truly appreciate you and I love you. But the process, yeah, Kendra and I are friends, but she put me to work. Okay. There was no sugarcoating. It's a lot of work. Let me just say this. It is a lot of work, but you will get so much out of it. What year did we work together? 20.
Ooh, it's 2022 and to 2023. 2022 and 2023.
22, 20. I think maybe it started in 21. I don't know, but it was over several years. But I'm still using these assets to this day. So you're building a foundation of something that has longevity. It's not trendy. It's not going to be built off of what's going viral and because trends change all the time, right? Something new is going viral. You got trending audio every other day. But the information and the infrastructure that you will be building in these programs are truly meant to last a lifetime. As long as you want, it'll work as long as you work it. So make sure that you are committed. And like I said before, Kendra's love language is execution and it's effort. If you show up, she will show up with you and help guide you. I did not know anything about entrepreneurship. I knew I had a gift and I knew I wanted to charge for it. And Kendra helped me to monetize my gift and to make it make sense so it wasn't too stressful for me. And it helped me to be confident in what I was talking about. You can't show up if you're not confident. But these assets and the systems that you will put in place will help build that confidence as you go through this process. So I'll just say, I don't know if these people have already signed up or what this group is, if they're on the fence, or But if you're on the fence, if you're like, is this person legit? Like I said, talk to me offline, message me. I will give you the real. You can look me up, look up things. I can send you workshops that I've done, and will continue to do, because I have one on the 30th, okay, that I'm working on. I have two at another college, which I'm really excited about. But it all started because I was able to get a system in place to confidently show what I can do and build it in a way to that I'm able to get corporate people to sign a check. So that's what it's all about. Let's make some money. Let's execute, put the effort in, show up, and give yourself the chance to show up. Show up for yourself, and you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. And that's it.
Baby, we can drop the mic on that. Stacey said I sent you a LinkedIn connect request. This is real guys. And I want to thank Krista so much again. Like, I told her, like I said, she was a legend out in these streets, because apparently people don't, I guess people are so used to being like misled or jaded on the internet. They want to see if like your work is real, and that the people who you serve are real. And I just want to thank you, Krista, for like, showing up and saying, hey, I'm gonna show up, and talk to your audience, and just show your perspective. And I appreciate that. And thank you for the gratitude throughout the entire process. And that's one thing that's super important for me, is that I always say, like, my love language is, as Krista said, it's the effort, it's the execution and the results. But also something that I hold very dear is gratitude. And I'm not going to like get emotional tonight, but Krista has been with me in the seasons where there were so many people that I served. And when I wasn't aware of my own power either, right? And where I gave so much and I received no gratitude in return. And so for me, it was beautiful to work with someone that showed gratitude throughout the process. Right. And so, Krista, I want to thank you, because you are the standard for what I accept in this season. Right. Like, it's like, if gratitude is the minimum, right? And you showed that throughout the entire process. So I just want to thank you so much for that.
Let me just say one thing, because this was on my heart. And I don't mean to change the mood, but I do have to say this, because we talk about execution. And when you said, how people get set up, but I want to make sure you all actually follow the process until the end. Because you can't say something is failing or something's not working if you don't do the work. So just make sure you do the work. I just want to leave you with that. Just make sure you do the work.
Where's my church fan? we need a church fan. We got a visiting pastor in the house tonight. Visiting pastor in the house tonight. We do the work. You're mad at nobody about because you ain't finished something, right? I love you, Krista. I love you. My audience apparently loves you too. And I want to leave with one thing. I'm so glad you got to see a real person here, albeit an amazing person, a beautiful person, someone that's super talented and expert at what she does. But you got to see a real person that is living this. She's not saying one day when. She's not saying, oh, well, one day when I do get finished. She finished it. She finished it. And this is what it looks like on the other side. And let's be clear, she was getting the results before everything was even built.
Facts. That's true.
She was getting the results before everything was even built.
I remember I made back my investment, I think within the first 2 contracts that I closed, I want to say, because we were celebrating, you already made back your investment. So, yeah.
Y'all need to hear that. She made that her investment before we were even done. What the fuck? It was amazing. It was amazing. Execution is the love language. Effort. If you give me your execution, if you give me your effort, I will give you the world. I promise you that. And this is somebody that has known me before I was the boss architect, right? Who knew me before any of this, that is sitting here and saying, yeah, it's real. And also, just kind of one more thing is how you do one thing is how you do everything in a lot of cases. And so this was the same thing, the same way I show up in the boss architect, the same way I showed up in corporate, right? It's give that effort, give that tenacity, give that, that thing that's only you, that only you can do, right? And we will take it and run with it. So I wanted you guys to see like somebody that finishes, somebody that's real, somebody that's not here saying, I have 1 million followers and I'm doing all this. No, this is a real person, right? And she just went through the process and was gracious and was tenacious, right, at finishing it. And, I'm so honored to call her my friend, my client. And yeah, just to have been a part of the journey. Right. So, guys, we're going to sign off. Thank you again, Krista, for blessing us with your presence. I appreciate you so much. And guys, thank you for tuning in and joining us. I love you guys. Love you,
Thank
Krista.
you. Love
Bye,
you.
y'all.